Introduction to Learning Module 4 and the Midterm Study Guide. Hi everyone, this is Deborah and I'd like to tell you some information about Learning Module 4, which focuses on our consequences, whether good or bad, of our online presence. So right now you can see I've logged into Canvas. I'm already on the overview page for Learning Module 4. So I'm going to click Next and go to the first part, which is Learning Module 4A, Self-Reflective Journal Entry 1. Okay, in this learning module, you're going to do some reading, of course, and looking at videos. Let's start from the beginning here. And as you go through and do these videos, look at them and read what you see here, think about how it might have some relevance to your own personal use of the internet. Okay, we're not saying that, that addiction happens to everybody. It doesn't necessarily, but you might start to recognize some behaviors in this reading and videos that you might recognize in yourself or in people that you know. So as you get down into the submission area, what you're actually going to turn in, please be sure to read everything carefully as always. This project consists of 3 separate journal entries that you're going to make into Canvas. So you're going to write 3 very short papers, kind of. They're not research papers exactly, they're more reflective, so that's why we're calling them journal entries. You're going to write 3 different ones on 3 separate days. Journal entry 1, 2, and 3. It's very important that you write your journal entries on 3 separate days. If you write them all in one day because you waited to the last minute, you will receive a 0 on this assignment. Separating them out onto separate individual days is the core of this whole experience. So please, don't wait to the last minute. Always start this right away so you can get into it and do it on time. Okay, here are the instructions. In the first journal entry, you're going to select one single day early this week. Okay, let's say Friday or Monday, something like that. That will happen between now and this first journal entry's deadline. The first journal entry deadline is October 8th. So any day between today and the first deadline, which happens to be October 8th for this one, you have to pick one of those days. And during that day, reflect on how much time you spent online and what you did from the moment you woke up until you went to sleep that night. Consider what you read and the videos you watched as context for being self-aware in how much time you spent online that one day and what you think your impact was to yourself and to others. And so here, if you get into number 3 down here, you'll see what you need to write about in this first journal entry paper. Okay, please be sure to be careful and you respond and write to all of these elements here, all of these questions. Read them and respond to them, answer them in your paper that you're writing. Then when you're done writing this paper, you're going to save it with this name. Call it your initials, LM4A, J1 for journal 1. So like if my name was John Doe, this is what I would name it, JD LM4A J1, and then submit it into the link at the bottom of this page. Now there are 2 more journal entries you need to do, LM4B, Self-Reflective Journal Entry 2, and also LM4C, which is the 3rd and final journal entry. Please note that the prompts, the information here and questions you're going to answer are different, slightly different than what you did in journal entry 1, just slightly. So please read through this, make sure that you understand it, and you're going to basically answer the same questions that you did in the first journal entry, but you're also going to address how this second journal entry day compares to the first journal entry day that you wrote about. If you behaved differently, if you were online at all that day, or what did you do differently that day from the first day. So that's important. So please put that here. And of course, you're going to save this document with this name, the same name as the first one, only it'll be LM4B J2. And finally, on the last and third journal entry document, again, it's very much like the first two, but this time you're going to compare this third day to what you wrote in the first and second altogether. So it's really very similar to the first and second, but please, make sure that you answer these questions as they are written. Save this journal entry with this name, LM4CJ3, with your initials in the front. Now, after you finish these journal entries, there's one last thing you need to do for Learning Module 4, and that is here taking part in this discussion, social media and its impact on the individual discussion. Okay, so what you're going to do is reflect on social media in general and how it can be addictive. And when I say social media, you're going to learn what I'm talking about as you read through all of these articles and watch the videos. And we're talking about probably the four most commonly used social media out there, which would be Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Okay, please be sure, as always, to read through all of these links. Go click into each one, read everything, watch every video. Then when you're done, you're going to come down here and read your submission instructions. Okay, you're going to enter your answer, as I should say, put your answer, write it out in the discussion board. You're not going to write a paper. This is not a paper to upload. This is a discussion you're going to post to. Okay, so watch very carefully. You're going to go online and find an image, like a picture or a photograph or a drawing or clip art, some kind of image that represents, in your mind, represents an addiction to a social medium that you yourself has used. That's not to say that you are addicted, but just that you're going to pick an image for a medium like Twitter or Facebook that some people can be addicted to. But it needs to be one that you yourself have used, either Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, or Facebook. Now, if you have never ever used any of that, if you have never used any social media ever, then email me immediately for further instructions, because you'll be doing something a little bit alternative to that. Okay, you're going to create a whole new discussion thread. Give your post a compelling title that's interesting and best represents the image you chose. Okay, then you're going to upload the image and also include a link to the image's location on the internet, its website link. Okay, and make sure if there's any copyright information that's required, you include that. Then you're going to write a couple of paragraphs. In the first paragraph, below the image, write a one-paragraph description of what the image shows and how it relates to social media addiction specifically. Also, be sure to cite from at least two of the readings above, two of these links above that you read about. And you're doing this in discussion. Remember, a discussion post, not a paper. So do this in the discussion post. Okay. Then in the second paragraph, you're going to write that something that describes your own personal use of social media, that particular one, or the site shown in the image, and whether or not your own experience reflects that image. In other words, whether or not you feel that you have become addicted to that or not. And, put your real feelings down, what you really think about it. Then you're going to write another paragraph that provides a clickable link to a current article within the last year, the last 12 months, that relates to the image, but it has to be different than any of the articles up here. You can't just use one of these. You have to find your own article, okay? And so include the link to that article. And finally, lastly, you're going to write a paragraph or a little bit of a summary. It can just be, 3 or 4 sentences of the article that you chose, the one that you found, and include its key points. Okay, read through this. And finally, before the due date deadline for Learning Module 4 ends, please come back to the discussion area and answer 2 or more of your classmates' posts that that they wrote about in their own experience, and reflect on that and respond to what they wrote about their experience. Okay, and finally, actually this was the last thing you have to actually do, but I want to point this one thing out to you. If you click next from this page, you will see a midterm study guide. Yes, believe it or not, the midterm is coming, and this is a study guide. It shows you, it tells you what to study, how to prepare for it, and what to expect. And again, the only way to find this midterm study guide is by clicking the next button in the lower right corner of this page, LM4D, Learning Module 4D. Go all the way to the bottom right, and this is where you will find the next button for that midterm guide. So if you have any questions about anything in Learning Module 4 or the midterm study guide, please email me right away.